Hey everybody, how's it going? In this one, I'm going to dive into soulmates, twin flames, and karmic relationships further, as I do wish and hope for everyone to understand the differences and that it's not like there's one better or worse for another. It just really is where you are at in your experience as a soul. So first things first, I want to get this out of the way. Soulmates and twin flames, that doesn't mean that one is better than the other. In truth, the twin flame relationship is actually a really hard relationship because it comes about with so much healing, so much becoming fully who you are, and then coming into the relationship with your twin flame. And most of the time, the reason why there's separation and again with twin flame is because you're not actually where you're meant to be when you come into the frequency of trying to be with each other, which separates you again, which becomes painful. Now, the thing about this is, depending on where your consciousness is, and that's the thing about as we open. The best way I can describe it right now is Dragon Ball Z, and it's basically, or even any professional, okay, so I'll start with Dragon Ball Z, then I'll go into any professional anything. Dragon Ball Z basically is, do you know Saiyan, that when Goku goes to Saiyan, then Super Saiyan, and then Super Saiyan 3, and then there's Super Saiyan 4, and from there he continues to progress further. And then while he's going through that, there's like Gohan and Vegeta, and they're just learning to be Super Saiyan. And then they're learning to be a bit further. And it's not about that it's better or worse or anything. It's just someone spent more time and they got further along. And this is why it ties into the professional sports or professional anything, really professional any skill, is the time that you spend to get into something. That does bring about where you go. And then we appreciate that people are professional at it. We're like, wow. But when it comes to people spending time on themselves, we're like, oh, you think you're better than me? Because it's not like, it's the same thing. When you spend time with yourself, it's the same thing as spending time with any other skill you're going for. The more time you spend with something, you just get better and better at it. And it's the same thing. Same thing. So I basically feel the most important thing in everything, especially in life though, but when you want to get into the soulmate, twin flame, karmic relationship, any relationship, you need to have a relationship with yourself first. I truly believe, I mean, you don't have to have a relationship and with yourself and be like, I can't be with anyone. But I do feel like if you took the time first to love yourself, every relationship after that will be so much easier. I mean, don't go alone and be a hermit entirely. Go do that, but also have interactions with people, because it's in those interactions that inspire within yourself even more healing and help and growth and inspiration and instigators and triggers of what you need to heal and, learning and all this stuff and inspiration. And so the thing is, I do believe though, that most of us don't understand that why the world is where it's at and why everything is where it's at is because we do not fill our cups first with self-love. Now, why this has to do with the soulmate, twin flame, karmic relationship is because this has everything to do with it. Soulmate, twin flame, karmic all has to do with frequency you're vibrating at. Everything is energy, okay? So when you understand what a soul is energy. And what you're vibrating at depends, and makes every single thing what you're experiencing. And the reason why I'm saying this matters is because if you are a low frequency, you are not going to be able to attract your high vibrating love story that you are wishing. If you are a high frequency and your lover is a low frequency, you're not going to be able to attract into each other's lives because you're not at the frequencies you need to be able to match. You cannot have an amazing relationship when one is vibrating super high and one is vibrating super low. All that's going to happen is so much fight and blame because you're not understanding where each other's coming from. You're not understanding each other's needs, because this one vibrating low needs their cup filled. They are so insecure and they need someone to provide for them, whereas this one is okay being independent. And when that happens, you just don't meet. And yet if both were to meet in a low place, they wouldn't be able to do much for each other. They would just have a low vibrating relationship. And so what we need is to raise both into wherever you wish to experience your relationships together. And that is what brings about your relationships. So what I'm trying to say about this whole thing with the soulmate, twin flame, karmic, you need to put ego aside. It's not about being like, oh, mine's a soulmate and yours is a twin flame. Oh my God, I'm a way high vibrating relationship than you. That's not what it's about. It's about understanding that soulmate is a soulmate, meaning that they are their own soul, you are your own soul, and that is a soulmate. A twin flame is a whole soul that had split into two, a male and female. This is my understanding of it, if you want to believe that they're balanced, which they can be as we go further along. But in this, where we're at right now, a male and female, they split into male, female, and they go about their journeys into all their different lives as they build upon their missing halves side of energy, and they come back as a whole, now whole male, female, coming back and now being a bigger combined male, female into, it's just about that growth, that expansion of knowledge, experience, understanding. And so from there, what I'm trying to say is twin flame relationships, if you aren't vibrating where you need to be that whole on either side, and you try to force it to come together sooner, you are going to have a hard time coming into what you're meant to, because the twin flame is meant to be complete before it comes into completion. And if you rush it before then, there are just certain things that you're not going to be able to understand or balance about each other because it just wasn't meant to be, which is why there's a lot of separation, and yet, can't live without them kind of deals. Now, the thing about the soulmate is, a twin flame is a soulmate, same as a karmic relationship is a soulmate, same as soulmate is a soulmate. And there's so many things about a soulmate. Soulmate, I use soulmate as the whole general overarching category, topic name of the whole categories, and then I would say the subcategories are like twin flame, karmic relationship, etc. And soulmate is even a subcategory. And so in that, understanding that with the soulmate, there is the karmic relationship soulmates, where it comes from past karma, it comes from karma now, and it comes from karma of what you need to learn. And karmic relationships are about you needing to work on that karma, what you decided when you came into this life of the karmic lessons you wish to heal, to let your soul be able to grow in a way to get you further as what you wish to experience later. Is because some things by karma we are held down by, because we cannot, before we release that karma to be able to expand and go further onto the different levels. Like, what can I explain that as, like, as a sport? Like when you're like basically biking, when you're learning with training wheels. I mean, now they don't do training wheels, and they learn that's better because you learn the balance before now with those run bikes. But before, when there was training wheels, and then you take the training wheels off, and from there, that's the same thing as like what the karmic relationships are and that kind of stuff. It's when you're able to take them off, you're able to progress to go further to where you wish to go. But you needed that time with the training wheels, you thought, to get you to where you wish to go. And that's the same thing with the karma and karmic relationships, is you thought you needed to go through that for you to have a better understanding to get you to where you wish to go. And that's what karma is. And that's what karmic relationships are. So karmic relationship, it doesn't mean you don't love them. And I think this is the difference between the loves of why they say soulmate, twin flame, karmic, is because of the love that they tried to say about the intensity. But that is all about what you think about love as well, right? Is because I believe in all the different types of love, all the different depths of love. And there are ones that you love deeply, even though they weren't in your, like you didn't have sexual relations, or they're not your lover or partner, but because they did something within you, within your life, that changed your life completely, and yet you didn't have the connection to them that way, and yet you love them so deeply. And I mean, this is when people get jealous of that love because they don't understand it either, when they're in a relationship, and you're like, well, I don't get what do you mean you obviously, and it's not understanding that there's different types of love, and that's also not understanding, and that's also your insecurities, because you don't have your full self-love, so then you get upset and want that person to fully love you, etc. I mean, just leads to all these things. So as a soulmate too, though, soulmate doesn't necessarily mean you have to have that karma. You can honestly just have soulmates. You have soulmates maybe where you worked out all that karma already, and like all karma. And so you just have them there as support because they fully understand you. You also have soulmates where maybe they're completely new to this because you're going to now be their new guides, teachers, everything. Like soulmates there's so many different types and categories of soulmates. Now, I don't feel like that means that you love any more or less. It just means that you love and thank them for what they brought to you. for what they were able to bring within you. You're so appreciative because it brings you to what you've always wanted to experience. And that's actually what we all do for each other, and how much we actually love each other truly is because when you can get past all the hurt, darkness, how could they have done this to me, tragedy, all this kind of stuff, and you actually look at everything and where it has brought you, where it has actually brought you, and you can be thankful for all of that. That's what it's all about. We do that because all of us truly are from love. Our truest being, our whole being is love. And when we truly love each other, we're willing to go to the craziest lengths for each other to experience what we wish, to bring us to where we wish to go, because that's what love is. And that's what we're all doing on the grandest scale that you can ever think of, on a universal. Do you know how grand and big that is? It's so grand that it's still expanding and they can't measure it. Okay, so anyways, all right, so I mean, twin flame, if I don't always believe that that means it's the greatest love. Sometimes I wonder about twin flame is because I feel like it's, sometimes you can look at it too. I mean, when I say this, I'm not trying to take away from anything, okay? This is just understanding that there's pros and cons to everything. It's because you can have the twin flame love where you reach, say it's the ultimate love above soulmate, above karmic. But in some ways, twin flame could also be kind of, you didn't have a choice because you were split, you didn't have a choice if you love that person. You just do because they're your other half. But let's say you have a soulmate then where you choose to love them and you love them fully. Now that was a choice. That's a choice over something that you just have no control over because you're magnetically attracted to each other because they're your other half. Now these are things of discussions that I love to talk about because it doesn't mean that something's better or worse than the other or this or that than the other. It's honestly what you choose to experience. And I think being able to experience everything, both of those, that great love, great love, every single thing, I think that's the greatest thing of all. And the fact that we get to experience it all, I mean, really at any given moment of time, it's hard for most people to understand that when you're living in the busy life. You really need to step back and look at life from a completely different space to understand what life really has to offer. And what life has to offer, I'm telling you, is your choice of experience and how you wish to experience. So go ahead and tell yourself that you have to do this, it's the way it has to be, but that's exactly why it has to be that way, because you tell yourself it has to be. There are so many other ways to choose to experience. Love you all.